What's going on, everybody? It is 2:49 p.m. Monday, July the 12th, 2021, and we got some Bitcoin news this afternoon. Before I even get started in the video, I do want to go ahead and explain my thumbnail for this video. My wife and I were joking. This is one of her friends. We just got done with her headshot session, and I just finished up with the photos, and I got to send them out to her later today. And she was like, "Are you posting them?" And I kind of joked with her. I was like, "Oh yeah, maybe I'll make them a thumbnail for my YouTube video, see if it works as clickbait." And we kind of laughed about it. And I just, out of curiosity, I'm going to do it and just see if it causes some sort of reaction. Doesn't have much to do with the video at all, except for I'm going to share my Instagram link at the end, which is to my photography company, which is what I do full time. So yeah, that's what that's all about. So moving on, strong Bitcoin accumulation spotted as Bitcoin price refuses to fall below 30,000. Glassnode data reveals that investors with a long-term risk outlook have started accumulating Bitcoin during its recent downtrend. We've been hearing this, that the whales are accumulating and all this recently. And you know, this is, especially when you get onto the Wyckoff thing, which you guys aren't familiar with that. I think I have a video that I've covered on it. If not, maybe I'll touch base on that again soon. Look up Wyckoff distributions and Wyckoff accumulations. You know, it's very clear to see that long-term holders are mopping up the speculative coins at a strong pace. It's now a waiting game until this is reflected in the price action. The data is confidently pointing to an accumulation bottom forming. And I had even said, if you look at the main part of the chart here, it almost looks like a rounding bottom to me. I am not a chart guy. This is not financial advice, never is. But just from the things I see and people talk about, it looks like you could be getting that rounding bottom, because you see a lot of these other ones, they'll continue down more to downward strike, where this one's kind of like, and that's just what I'm seeing. So Hive to increase hash rate almost 50% with 3,000 new miners. Hive predicts that the purchase will generate an additional $80,000 in daily income. I need one of these. What? Cryptocurrency mining company Hive Blockchain has purchased an additional 3,000 Bitcoin miners, which will increase its operating hash rate by 46%. The M305 machines have a combined hash rate of whatever petahash I think that is. Yeah, wow, that's a lot. A subsidiary of CoinDesk parent company Digital Currency Group is where they bought it from. That's interesting too. They recently made a $66 million purchase of graphics processing units, taking advantage of the recent drop in price due to the mining crackdown in China. It's a Canada-based firm. Big stuff, guys. You know, that the Bitcoin thing, I know the narrative that it's going to take forever to get the hash rate back up and all that. I don't know if that's the case, man. I think in a capitalist world that we live in, you know, the opportunity, man, people are looking for this stuff. There's people waiting. The El Salvador Bitcoin move could potentially clog the network, says JP Morgan. According to them, the illiquidity and increased volume from El Salvador adopting Bitcoin could strain the network. They have published a recent report indicating such, and they are talking here that there are two-layer solutions already in place to help reduce congestion, and rumors suggest that the Salvadorian government is launching its own Bitcoin wallet with the two-layer integration. Daily payment activity in El Salvador would represent 4% of recent on-chain transaction volume and more than 1% of the total value of tokens, which has been transferred between wallets in the past year. It's a pretty cool article. Obviously, you know, all the descriptions, or the links will be in the descriptions, excuse me. Countdown to Grayscale's big Bitcoin unlock. 5 things to watch for in Bitcoin this week. Stocks boom as USD hits classic resistance. That's true. You know, the stock market's almost at all-time high again. It's knocking on the door again, people. So I think that's why we're seeing this rounding bottom. I expect this market to respond in kind in the very near future. And that is just me, my opinion, my view with all this stuff I'm absorbing. I am not an expert. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not a TA guy. I'm not lending any advice, just lending, you know, here, this is what I'm seeing and what I think. You know, do your own research. But unfortunately, it has to be recognized that going forward, the longer that rates remain where they are, the more that we could look toward tapering, the more severe and acute could be the reaction. They go to talk about the Bitcoin price is doing all the right things to reclaim the trend line as support, doing such, and that'll be great progress towards challenging for a breakout from this blue wedging structure. The fundamentals sustain their comeback, and I say this all the time in crypto, guys. The fundamentals have not changed, and don't get too caught up in price action all the time, because if you believe in these assets from a fundamental standpoint, which I 1000% do, at least in what I'm invested in, then when you see this stuff going on, you should just realize it's a young emerging market that has not matured yet. In my opinion, is nowhere near maturation yet. And that whole process isn't even in the crosshairs yet, in my opinion. Grayscale unlocks 40,000 Bitcoin. Wow. Investors now have more incentive to buy their trust shares rather than just Bitcoin, because it diverts the buying pressure on the BTC spot market. This is bearish. Bullish price metrics near launch zone. We're talking about that. Everybody's seeing where there's, the narrative is changing slowly. You're seeing the fear start to exit a little bit. Compute North to expand Bitcoin mining colocation capacity by 1.2, I don't know if that's gigawatts. I really don't know what that is. They say it will take until Q3 of 2022 for mining capacity to recover from China's recent crackdown. I don't buy that. I don't buy it. They got 5 sites under construction. There's going to be companies jumping into this thing, especially over here in North America. I think that's going to be big over here. Green energy focused Bitcoin miner Hive joins North American mining pool. We just read about Hive and their 3,000 machines. They're in the North American mining pool. That's really all I'm going to go into as far as that goes. Leading into the breakout point, Bitcoin price will see a breakout during this week, says a trader with a 38,000 target. The Bitcoin balances breakout with Grayscale worries some. If this isn't reclaimed as support soon, the sell side pressure on the 50, what is that? This weekly moving average? I don't even know what that abbreviation is. It may be too much for Bitcoin to hold here. I would not be surprised if Bitcoin is going to trade around 38,000 during the days of this week. Altcoins lurk ahead of market decision. I am of the mindset that this is where the money will be made in the rest of this bull run. That's not financial advice, but that's where the math leads my attention. And let's just remember, as we're coming out of this crash type situation, let's not expect a V-shaped recovery. You're not always, it says we're more in a downtrend right now than an uptrend, and technically we could just say to some degree we're sideways because we've been here before. Let's not expect a V-shaped recovery. The last 2 months of more or less sideways movement has proven the case that we were overheated and a summer lull in the market was needed, and we're essentially watching that play out. Yes, right now I agree the market has been bearish for the last couple of months, but I do think we're coming out the other side eventually. It is possible that the fourth quarter brings back all bullishness to Bitcoin. It goes to 6 figures, then puts its market style peak by the end of the year, but people should be flexible. Yeah, guys, I mean, I think this is a consolidation. I think you're not seeing a V-shaped recovery. The awareness, and you have so much institutional money starting to come in, whether it's central banks and stuff or not. You're seeing these trusts and these custody firms and just the exchanges, broker dealers, peer-to-peer third-party entities, insurance companies, stablecoins are coming out. With all that money being put into it, and then also all the retail panic selling and freaking out because they're paying too much attention to financial media and, watching the price 5 times a day, an hour for some people. That is what it's going to take us a little bit longer to get out of here. I think we're going to see something kind of like it shows right here, where it's just nice and slow. And then once we really notice, okay, I think it's going to pop. And that's a common theme in the space right now. Digital Perspectives posted, yikes, mass exodus from ETH in 3, 2, 1. He says, if it can be used to reverse a bad act or transaction, I'm pretty sure it could be used to reverse a good transaction too. And that is interesting. They always talk about immutability and blockchain being a feature, not a bug. And I would like to see what Joel Katz has to say about it as well. Because they have started this contract thing on GitHub, which will basically allow them to spend, I believe they would have to spend Ethereum, and they could go back to a block, re-mine it if there was some sort of issue and they have some sort of balance in place. I didn't understand the technical side of this. I couldn't find like a layman terms article, but just keep your mind or eyes open for something like that. If anybody does have an explanation, feel free to tag it, send it, DM it, whatever you want to do. I would love to get a little deeper on that. Power Ledger to move to Solana from Ethereum, citing higher speed and scalability as the motivations. They also cited the low energy output of Solana's proof of history and proof of stake mechanism in an announcement Saturday. It is built to audit and streamline the buying and selling of renewable energy. It serves its purpose in the short term, but the limitations of this solution were always very apparent, including low transactions per minute. It's very interesting. Ethereum's 2.0 upgrades are not the game changer that could bring more users, according to here. And they go in and talk about the major problems as far as proof of work and the transactions per second and everything else. And then there was a part I was going to go over here. If this is of interest to you, read it. I don't want to get stuck on here searching for this and drag this video out even longer. Blockchain can help publishers improve audience. There was a crypto called Revain, which we'll go into, and it wasn't quite this, but in a way. And what is interesting is that you can increase trust with. That's why they call some of these permissionless and trustless, because you don't really need that mechanism there because it's going to do what it's supposed to do. That's a very simple explanation, but they talk about 91. A white paper was entitled "How to Timestamp a Digital Document." And what's really interesting is, like, once this stuff goes on the chain, you can't really tamper with it. So if it's something that's deemed to be, decent by, the peer review communities and stuff, and by peer review, I don't mean like some like, Twitter police coming on here like, oh no, that's blah, blah, blah. I'm saying if the majority of people agree that it is a credible source of news using the blockchain, you would have accurate ratings. You wouldn't have as many like bot and fake accounts, because KYC, know your customer technology and all that's about to come into play in a big way, in my opinion, with all these digital IDs that the governments are going to be passing down to tie to your wallet so they can give you stimulus, so they can give you your UBI, unemployment, your food stamp assistance, whatever it is that you might be getting from them. I really do believe that's where it's going to go. And I think once it gets to that point, platforms like this are going to be awesome. Elon Musk used to talk about having a platform where media outlets were fact-checked by fact-checkers, and I think he had expressed possibly utilizing blockchain for that, and he never heard much else about it. And then Revain, which is something I used to hold. It is a review opinion product type place where this is pretty much what their whole gig is. That's what they do, and I don't hold them anymore. I did for a while. They're pretty cheap. I think it's like 0.007 or something right now, if I'm not mistaken. Whatever though. This article was cool too. It's about adopting a decentralized way of life from small step to giant leaps. Decentralization may seem out of reach for many, but there are some realistic ways to reject the idea of centralization in our daily lives. And it just goes through and talks about some different stuff, like to treat others the way you want to be treated rings true. Being permissionless, it talks about using a VPN and pseudonyms and all that kind of stuff, and protecting your privacy by denying cookies, clearing your cache. It does help. Donating in charities through NFTs or directly to those in need instead of these other organizations, and then getting involved locally. This is pretty cool. Decentralizing governance could be an effective means of achieving critical objectives of the Sustainable Human Development Vision, improving access to services, credit, employment, health, and education, eradicating poverty, achieving greater socioeconomic equity, especially between men and women, and safeguarding the environment. So, getting involved locally can be a big deal. This was a report written in 1999. I had never even heard the word decentralization until like a couple years ago in all reality. And then it says, my advice is start looking in this direction. Research and think for yourself. The stigma surrounding blockchain technology is born out of fear of those parties who are scared to lose the power. And you're right about that. The quest for a truly decentralized stablecoin. This is a good one to read. We're not going to crack through this too deeply, but it keeps talking about how they want to make a purely algorithmic stablecoin. And the reason why is because you don't want to, if you peg something, it's got to constantly be like fluctuating in value with whatever it's pegged to and all this. They're basically talking about if you can have an algorithmic one, it says it would feel like the Holy Grail. Where does it go? But it would actually be stable, it would be settled on chain, and would still have purchasing power. Where is it at? It talks, yeah, an algorithmic stablecoin is one that can keep its peg using only software and rules. If one ever works, it could scale infinitely to whatever size the economy needs. I think it's pretty cool, and then they talk about here, sometimes things don't work in the long run because the economy expands faster than the amount of materials available, and I think he's referring to more like traditional fiat type stuff there. I thought this was interesting too. Without banks, cannabis companies are now turning to crypto. Here's one way cryptocurrencies can help businesses that are not able to access traditional financial services. Medical marijuana is now legal in 36 states, and 17 states allow recreational. It is medical down here in Florida, and I think that's awesome. Huge advocate for that. Yeah, and it's cool. It's like you can't do business when you can't accept credit or debit payments and don't have access to other financial services such as loans. It forces many cannabis companies to rely heavily on cash, and cash is not ideal. We all know that these days. Cash is trash. And yeah, having a cashless business is impossible at that point. So in order to get into, I just think this is awesome that they're using crypto for this right now. I think it's fantastic. And I just wanted to kind of close off with this. You know, the FBI warns digital currency exchanges and crypto owners of possible threats, and they're basically saying, a lot of people are like, you know, get your stuff off the exchanges, get it on a ledger. I think cold storage, hardware storage like that is fantastic. I have a few ledgers myself. They're great. You know, as long as you keep them safe and you do not lose, forget, or misplace whatever your seed phrase is, you know, those are very important to recover. But they are basically saying that they're anticipating attacks, and the way that they're seeing them is the SIM swapping. That's why I tell people, do not use two-factor authentication text messaging verification. If they swap your SIM card, which all this takes is like a crappy employee at like the T-Mobile kiosk in the mall to, you know, need to make an extra buck, they could take, and I'm not shouting out at a T-Mobile in a negative light or anything. That's just what I pictured when I was walking in the mall for some reason. Anyway, they can basically reprogram a SIM card to your phone, put it into another phone, and then get the text message verification would be sent to them, not you. You basically wouldn't be receiving anything because you wouldn't have service briefly, to my understanding, and all this would be going on. You'd have no idea. You wouldn't be getting your emails. You know, they could do all that stuff. Another thing that they talked about up here too is the account theft and then tech support staff. You know, make sure your passwords are being changed and do not repeat them. Even if you got to use one of these programs to help generate secure ones, as long as you're using a trusted, vetted source for that, it's fine, in my opinion. You know, and then tech support staff. These people are not going to ask you for your seed phrases. They're not going to ask you for this stuff, man. All these, like, if you go on Telegram and you ask anybody for help, within minutes you have like all these bots that are like, oh yeah, I work for, you know, Trust Wallet, like what's up? And it's all very convincing to an extent. And to people who don't have any idea that that type of thing is going on, I think a lot of people fall victim to it. So stay vigilant on this. I don't think this means you need to pull everything off of every exchange. I think I feel like certain exchanges are pretty rock solid. I'm not going to get into all that, but, and then yeah, make sure you guys give me a follow on Twitter at TruePerception3. Give me a like and subscribe on the YouTube. It helps a lot. Leave some comments. All that stuff helps. Share it with a friend. Make sure you got the notification bell on so you get updates as they come in. And then, yeah, shout out to Amber for killing her headshot session when she was over here. She looks great. She's been turned into clickbait and has no idea. She'll be actually getting this photo delivered to her here in a few minutes. And, yeah, if you guys are interested in my photography or any of that type of stuff, True Perception Images is my full-time company. That is what I do for a living. And, yeah, I shoot a lot of people, especially headshots. I think putting a new twist on those is kind of fun. You know, they don't have to be like the typical boring ones that you see everywhere. Bunch of my kids, there's me, you know, just some other stuff. I do some cool light painting and stuff. If anybody's into that stuff, we do stuff like this. It's pretty fun. You can see some of that, a little bit of Astro stuff. And then I do shoot real estate and interiors. That's probably my biggest passion with photography. Unfortunately, right now, I am dealing with that non-compete situation, which I did have in one of my videos with the contract. Oh, I know what I'm doing wrong. I was trying to show you guys these. Just like detail shots I was getting at this place, you know. So yeah, just a little more information about me. These are all really old down here, and yeah. that's it. So I guess with that, I'm going to end the video. Shout out to all the new followers. I've almost doubled my following in a week on YouTube. I think a lot of that is going to the casino coin community. Ever since I started pumping their videos, and some of them have been cool enough to let me tag them and stuff, and they've been great about retweeting my stuff. And it seems like every time I post, in the coming days, it seems like it rages on my page. So I really appreciate that. And everybody else who's tuning in, feel free to leave comments. Let me know what you guys want. I'll see you in the Facebook group. I haven't had any of you guys come over yet. Make sure somebody does. Come on over. It's right here in the About section, private Facebook group. There it is. Turn on dark mode. It looks way cooler than this, in my opinion. And yeah, I'll catch you guys on the next video.